Back in, everybody. This is going to be session 7, poker PTSD. We're still in Biloxi, Mississippi. We're going to go over 3 hands, and it's really going to talk more about the mental game of poker, what I'm going through, my struggles, really opening up what a lot of people don't talk about, and I'm really going to explain. And the third hand will really show y'all what is going on in my head, and I hope a lot of people will relate to this. I'm definitely opening up and explaining a lot of what is going on and my struggles getting back into the game. Before we jump into the hands, I do want to talk about my dude right here, Hype Man Rips. He came all the way across the country earlier in the year to come to Jack's Best Bet to play on a live stream. He brought the action. In this hand, actually, he put the straddle on the button. This was early on the game. He wanted to set a tone of what type of player he was going to be tonight. He ends up going on a straddle, pulls off a bluff on the river. Wasn't a huge bluff, but he just showed. He ends up showing it. He wins it with Jack high. But he just showed that he was there to mix it up, bring the fun, and I absolutely love my young homie. He's a little younger than me. Every time I talk to him, that's why I tell him, young homie. The other night, the reason I wanted to bring him up and really showcase him is after I posted my last video, he reached out to me through our Discord. He's also one of the few people that has my personal number. He reached out to me. We ended up talking on the phone for a little bit about the mental game, the struggles, strategy, and a couple other things. And when it comes to this, you really need a great core support group, and he was there. I absolutely love this dude's energy. I just want to get on here on YouTube and thank him for the phone call, the text. I know you're about to jump out on the grind, bro. You got this. We both talked about things we got to improve when it comes to personal and on the felt. So I just want to tell you how much I truly appreciate that phone call. You family, you my brother, you my young homie forever. Hopefully I see you in Vegas at the WSOP. I will put that out there. But I just want to come on here and thank you and all my other subscribers and followers. All right, we're going to go through the first hand. Before we jump into the first hand, I want to talk about when I walked in here, how I'm feeling, all that, because it's going to play a part. The third hand, we're only going to go over 3 hands, so it won't be a super long video. Stay with me. This, like I said, poker PTSD, the third hand, I'm going to break it down. Tell you what I should have done different. It wouldn't have changed the outcome, in my opinion, at all. But I want to talk about that hand and go along with how everything is going and me trying to rebuild who the Hatter was. So before we go on the first hand, I sit down at the Beau Rivage and I am nervous. I should not be nervous. I just feel like, I don't know, my self-confidence has been shook, mainly from a lot of bad beats, other things going on in life, and I just have not had the confidence I used to have. A lot of self-doubt, and it's something that is, it's not the opponents beating me as much as it is variance and myself. And I want to go ahead and go on record. Yes, variance has been getting me in a lot of hands, as y'all probably seen, and you will see in future episodes, but me doing bad things and me hurting myself is what is killing my results at the moment. At the end of the day, the only thing I really truly can control is myself, my emotions, my mental game, and the plays that I make. I cannot control variance. This is something that I know better than anyone. So this is sort of how I'm feeling when I sit on the table. I'm super nervous. I shouldn't be nervous. Just in my mind, I feel like I'm sitting down with players that are a lot better than me, and it took me a good little bit before I settled in and got that out of my head and started to conquer them fears. So the very first hand that we're going to go over, I have ace king offsuit. Under the gun opens to 10. Theoretically, he should have a really strong hand here, but we're not going to flat with ace king offsuit. I go ahead and make a 3-bet up to 30. It ends up folding all the way around, and the villain's going to go ahead and call, and we're going to a flop. The flop comes ace of clubs, 3 of hearts, 10 of clubs. Pretty good board. I hit top pair, top kicker. This also, for with him opening up and then calling, this could hit his range. There's very likely he could have an ace. He could have Broadway cards for straight draws, all kinds of hands he could have right here. He's going to go ahead and check in flow. And when it checks over to me, I'm definitely going to put in a bet. I could size up here, but also I don't want to go too big. So I end up going, I do have a king as a blocker here to him having, I mean, there's still 3 kings out there, but I do have a good blocker to block straights and stuff. So I go ahead and go a little under half pot. I thought it was half pot in the moment, but I bet 30, pretty much half pot, and he calls really quickly. The turn comes the jack of hearts. Now we have 2 flush draws out here. I do block the king of hearts, one of the flush draws, and I also block him having king queen a little bit here. But he could definitely have a straight here. He could have two pair. Ace jack's a very hand he could have. He could have 10 jacks suited. He could have pocket jacks. These are a lot of hands he could have. When he checks it to me, this is where the first decision point of the hand comes. I could go ahead and bet. I do have now a straight draw myself. So there's nothing wrong with me betting here. If I was to bet, I think I could go ahead and bet a little bigger, maybe bet like 80 here. Y'all tell me what y'all think about it in the comments. In the game, I'm still playing a little scared, a little passive, so I'm going to check this one back. See what comes on the river. This is kind of bad because if he does have a club draw, I'm pretty much letting him get there and seeing a free river card. So the river comes the 5 of spades. In theory, this really shouldn't change much unless he has ace 5 exactly. And there's not many combos of that at this point. There's a couple. He could have ace 5 of diamonds and he could have ace 5 of hearts. But I mean, it is what it is. He's going to go ahead at this point and lead out to 40. Pretty small bet. I take this as a blocker bet. I don't want to raise because if I do raise and he jams, then I'm just in a bad situation. I don't think that me raising, he's on a call with worse. I end up calling and he turns over the naked ace of diamonds. Later on, he told me that he had ace 9. So we go ahead and scoop a pot there. And in the moment, it definitely gave me a little bit of confidence. So let's go ahead and move over to the second hand. And I want to talk about a few hands before we actually start the second hand. All right, before we jump in the second hand, I just want to say this. There was a couple of hands that went on from the previous hand I just showed you to this hand. One of them was I had pocket nines and we went 5 ways to a flop and the flop come 8, 9, 10. I end up calling 2 streets of value on the flop and the turn hoping to boat up. And the river comes a jack. So the board is 8, 9, 10, 5, and then the jack. The guy that's betting is what I would consider a tighter opponent. He had bet the previous 2 streets. He bet the flop. He bet the turn I called. And when the jack comes on the river and he checks to me, this is a situation I could turn my set into a bluff. I end up not doing it because I'm still going passive. But his bet sizing, I knew he had a big hand. He had a hand, but I just didn't know. I knew he didn't have the nuts straight. So I could have turned my hand into a bluff. I ended up checking it back, hoping that he has something like 10 jack exactly, and I could win with my set. He ends up turning over 7-6. He flopped the straight against me to my set. I just want to talk about his hand real quick. I didn't have I should have put it in the little thing here, but I couldn't remember all the suits because I didn't have good notes from it. I'm just going from recollection of it. But that hand kind of like started to put the doubt back in my mind. Like, why is this always, all these bad thoughts are going in my head, and it shook my confidence that little bit. From that moment, about 30, 45 minutes have went by, and I'm gonna be honest with you, at the table, like I am battling. I'm battling in my mind with myself because I know I'm not playing all optimally and I can play so much better. And at this point, like I put in my notes here in my phone, you got to make a stand. None of these people respect what you're doing. You don't respect what you're doing. You've got the worst case of poker PTSD that I've ever seen. You're not playing your game. So now what I'm about to do in this hand, I'm gonna try to justify it. I'm not sure it's the best play in the world, but this is what's going on. In my mind, I'm telling myself, I'm battling with myself in my mind, hey, you can play with these people. You ain't got to sit there and play all passively. Take some chances and, show them that you can play this game. So going into this hand, that's sort of what's going through my head. And I remember saying in my thing, it's the line in the sand if we're going to win today. So under the gun folds, the original razor villain, and under the gun 2 bumps it up to 15. Middle position folds, low jack folds. 4-6 of diamonds. I'm not going to say this is probably a good profitable call, but like I said, at this point, I'm playing so passively. I'm not playing hands. I'm trying to wait for the cards to come. They're not coming. 4-6 of diamonds seems like a good hand to jump in there and splash around with these guys and prove that I can still play this game. I don't know. It's not the best, but hey, it is what it is. Cutoff folds and the button calls for 15. The blinds get out of the way. We go to a flop, and the flop comes 4 of spades, king of diamonds, 5 of spades. All right. So Definitely not the best flop, but it's not the worst flop either. We got backdoor straight, we got backdoor flush, we got some options here, and we have a pair. So there's a lot of hands here. We could also represent, we could easily have pocket fours, pocket fives here. So when the original villain checks, I'm gonna go ahead and check, see what the button's gotten on. At this point, I feel like the opener either completely missed, or the only hand that he should really be checking here. I don't even think he checks aces here, not into two opponents. He wouldn't check ace king here. So he could have something like jacks or queens or some kind of hand like that. That's possible. Or he has just completely whiffed this flop, which I think is what happens here. The villain on the button goes ahead and bets 25. The original raiser gets out of the way. And here's the moment where I have taught myself into, listen, we got to at least show that we're going to battle with these people. We can't just call fold, call fold, call fold. I said, I got a lot of backdoor equity here, a lot of chances. So let's go ahead and make a call here. I call the 25, and the turn is the queen of spades. All right. So this is a pretty interesting card. Of course, it brings in the obvious flush. I don't think the person on the button would have been betting a flush draw from what I saw. As you see, he's a lot deeper than me. So I want to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and take the lead here and try to make it look like, from my image of being so passive and so scared, that the only way that in his eyes, because he seems like a decent player, in his eyes, the only way that I'd be betting big here is if I hit the flush. So I make it look like I'm super excited to see the flush card come in, and I lead for 60. He goes into the tank for a few minutes, and eventually he's going to find a fold. I'm not sure I really like what I did here. I think this is where I actually played the image of me being so passive and so tight, probably to my advantage. And I mean, even if the guy has a king, and I mean, he ain't got a good king because he flatted on the button. But anyways, he folds. And in this moment, I feel a little bit better about the poker session, and I'm up a little bit. And from this hand, I ended up three betting kings and queens over an original opener. Both time he opened to 20 and 25 respectively. I made it 60 and 65 respectively. He ends up folding both of those, and I take down them pots, but at least I'm three betting when I should. I'm not playing too passive. I'm starting to feel a little bit better about the session. But then I go card dead for a while until the hand of the day comes up, and it's a doozy. So let's get right to it. All right, let's jump right into this hand. And this is why this episode is pretty much the title of it, Poker PTSD. And this is why right now, this is what I'm battling with. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Like, this hand is crazy. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and play the cards face up. That way it shows the percentages as we go through the hand. I will say, act like you don't know what she has. But I'm going to go ahead and show you. I want to say something about this lady. Excuse me. She had folded pretty much every bit of aggression I had saw at the table, except the one time she flopped top set with queens, and she just called the aggression on the flop turn and then shoved on the river with pocket queens. And she won with top. She ended up voting, but she had top set on the flop and didn't fold to aggression. Any other time I've seen people put any pressure on her, she folded. So she's definitely a tighter opponent in my mind, but that really shouldn't change how this hand goes. Under the gun folds, under the gun two folds, middle position calls, low jack folds, hijack folds. She limps, button limps, small blind limps. Comes to me in a big blind with pocket fours. I just don't think raising's a good idea here. All I'm going to do is balloon a pot with a low pocket pair. I'm going to go ahead and go into set mining and hope to win a big pot here. We're about 4 hours into the session right now, and I'm just wanting something good to happen. And bingo, bango, bongo, bottom set. Let's go. Let's go. So I'm definitely going to go look for the check raise here. Small blind checks. I'm going to go ahead and check, hoping one of the three take a stab. There's draws out there. There's a lot of things that could be bet. Someone could have a jack. Middle position checks. She don't let me down. She bets 15. But button folds, small blind folds. I go ahead and put in a check raise. I wish I would have went bigger here. 45, 50 should be the number. Like I said, I'm playing bad. I'm playing too fast. I'm not thinking everything out. I'm just grabbing chips and going. This is really bad. This is just rusty. And this is why I'm starting to do a couple different things here in the last couple of days to try to work on my game. Middle position folds, and she's going to go ahead and call. Before we go to the next card, I just want y'all to look at the percentages. I'm a 98% favorite. She's got 2% chance to beat me. So in this moment right here, what's really going through my mind, if I could see her cards, I would be like jumping out of my seat saying, I got her, just put a good card on the turn, no diamonds, none of this. This is what's going through, like if I could see her cards. But in the moment, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. When she called, the poker PTSD had already creeped in my mind. And I was like, she has pocket sevens. That's what's going through my mind, to be honest with y'all. So the turn comes the king of hearts. In my mind, that ain't changing much. As you can see, I'm still a 91% favorite. She's got a 9% chance now. We're still in a great situation. I go ahead and lead for 45, and she snap raises to 100. Now, just going back to what I said, y'all, it is in my head now that she has exactly pocket sevens, and all it is poker PTSD. Because in reality, I have to shove here. This is a clear cut shove. If she has pocket sevens, she has pocket sevens. I tap the table, I reach into my pocket, grab $300 more, throw it on the table, and move on with the session. That is the reality of what I used to do. What I'm doing now is I am devastated by all the bad beats I've took over the last 6 to 9 months, whether it be at the card tables or in personal life, to be honest with you. I expect the worst outcome at all points. I don't even think positive anymore. This is the reality of it. This is how my mind is working. And that's why the mental shift that I have to do has got to be one of the biggest steps. The mental game of poker is so important. But like I said, we're going to go on with the hand. I just call because at this point, like there is so much fear in me, y'all. I'm like, she's got pocket sevens. I'm getting cooler. I always get cooler. This is how it always goes. Like all them demons are running around having a house party in my head. River comes king of clubs. Now you know her hand. You know what just happened. Now, before I go into the river action, I want y'all to think about this from if you're a poker player and you've went through a huge downswing where everybody's hitting flushes, everybody's sucking out, and think about when you end up seeing this hand and you know what you have and you're going to show it and you see what she had and think about how brutal it really is to when you're already shook at the poker table. I don't know any other way better to say it. Um, One of the biggest things that I'm about is the mental game. As you heard when I was in the beginning, when I talked about my boy Hype Man Rips calling me and stuff, it's such a big point. And it don't matter. That's why I've always been about poker and life so much because once you're shook mentally, it don't matter if it's life or poker, you can never play to your full potential. You can never become your full potential, whether that's in life or at the poker tables or anything else. And the one thing I will say, getting back into this 1,000 hour challenge has definitely made me face how bad my mental game is when it comes to a lot of things in life. And I've got to make major changes. So all these bad beats, everything going on right now is probably a blessing. And it's going to make me stronger and better long term. But it's up to me to correct it. One of the big things, let's go ahead and finish the hand, then I'll go into it. I check. Luckily, she only bets 100 here. Like, I look at her and I tell the whole table, this is so sick. I know I'm going to lose. I flip over the pocket fours, call the 100, and she exposes King Jack. There was a grinder to the left of me, and he looked at me and goes, wow. And I looked at him, and all I said was, I should have shoved the turn. That's all I said to him. I should have shoved the turn. And I said, I know it wouldn't have changed nothing. He's like, yeah, it wouldn't have changed nothing. I said, but it would have been the right play. He's like, yeah. He said, honestly, I'd have shoved the turn. I think you made a mistake there, even though it wouldn't have changed it. But even though I lose probably somewhat the minimum in this hand, and I end up getting up right after this and cashing out the last 97 because at that point I could go ahead and add back on another 300 because it's uncapped and go back to playing. But I was shook. I decided to get off the table, cut my losses for the day, go up to the room, take a shower, get ready to do the interview that I hopefully most of y'all got to watch with me and Nitwit Poker because he did a good job of explaining a lot of stuff he's going through too when it comes to poker and mindset. It's not a big loss. You end up losing 203 on the session, but it's what the hand did to me. I don't think if I would have done, if I'd have bet 50 on the flop, maybe she folds. Maybe she does, maybe she don't. Once we get to the turn, if I jam top two pairs, she's calling. Long term, definitely need to jam the turn because if she does have top two pair and she bricks the river, say let's say the river was like the five of diamonds, it would have killed the action. That's why you should definitely shove the turn in theory. Um, I'm just playing bad, and a lot of my playing bad, as you'll see in the next episode, especially, is it's all mental. It's all mental more than yeah, bet size and stuff like that. I got to get better, but my mental games are wreck, y'all. Please stay tuned. I hope to turn this around. As I text a friend of mine the other day, I said it's time for me to have my Rocky moment and go in and start training more than ever and getting better, whether it be mentally, strategically, everywhere. My game needs to go back to where it was 2 years ago. It's been a long 2 years. Honestly, it's been a long 3, 4 years for me on this journey, but it's been a blessing. And like when I talked about Hype Man Rips, and there's a lot of others, they're the blessing. They're the people that now are the core that I brought that I found to really take the journey I'm about to go on. So I do want to thank all them, everybody that is subscribed, liked, commented. I appreciate y'all so much. Y'all are truly the backbone that's going to make me get good again. Um, I'll see y'all in the next episode. I'll go ahead and tell you the next one is a swingy, unbelievable meltdown. I'm pretty sure a lot of people enjoy it. But thanks again. I'll see y'all next time.